All right, we are live in AHR Expo here in, where are we? We're in Illinois.
Chicago.
I called it Chicago, California the other day, is what I did. So that's nice. I am here with my buddy Chris Hughes. Chris Hughes happens to work for a test in, how do we describe the company that you work for?
We're a pressure and flow company, right? So we measure airflow, we measure pressure differential. We look for building pressures that could be problematic.
Okay.
Mostly known for the blower door, and now moving into the industry with the digital true flow.
Okay. So I was fortunate enough to be able to connect through our group of friends with a lot of these cool people that have been educating me about the building science side of things. And it's been really neat to be able to connect and to be educated better myself. So we have Adam here that you can't really see because he's a little bit off camera, but he's over there. And Adam today had the presentation of a lifetime. So how'd that go today, Adam?
I don't know if it was a presentation of a lifetime, but it was something.
Well, tell me about it. So, okay, first and foremost, what was the presentation and why did you do it?
It was, what's the description? It's when building performance meets HVAC design. I think that's what it was called. Right? It was cool. This is like the first time I've ever done anything like that. But interestingly enough, it was supposed to start first thing this morning, 9 o'clock, and they locked us out of the room. So we have a whole crowd of people standing outside of a locked door. So what we ended up doing was just hijacking a big banquet hall down the way. And yeah, it was pretty cool. I felt like I was like speaking at a wedding though.
So I heard that you guys lost all your visual ideas. You couldn't show your slides.
Yeah, that was fun. But it went all right, I guess.
He recovered well. I mean, it was like everything kind of that could have went wrong. Or you can't get in your room.
Yeah.
You don't have your slide deck.
For sure.
But I'll throw Adam a bone. He stayed on track. It's almost like he had the slides, in your mind, kind of you knew the story. What was really good about that class that I sat on when he did it was I think everybody likes to come to a presentation that there's a story and that story is real. Like that really happened.
Yep.
And so me and Adam have talked about that job you did, but I never heard the full spiel from start to finish, so I didn't know all the little nuances. So when he went through that story, there was a ton of people who were like asking questions to the point I feel people left encouraged. Like one thing that you were talking about, it was like 4-story house. It was like 4-story house with one system, and he ducked the system. I mean, that's crazy. Who does I don't know people who do that. And you got to have some major huevos, right, to pull that move, because balance is difficult. Temperature differential could be a problem. You got one floor buried in earth, right, no heat load, and then you got heat load on the top floor, and he's holding 2-degree max differential. And I think that registered with a lot of people sitting in the room. They're like, what? Like you actually made that happen and it worked. And I think people thought, well, man, he could do that. Maybe I can do that. I can sense that in the classroom. So that was pretty cool.
So the gist is that Adam has been telling us, our the overtime guys, we've been hearing these stories for the last year of him working on the Passive House project. And even people watching on the overtime channel right now, you guys have heard the Passive House project. This was everything all together. So I've heard the whole Passive House project story from start to finish, but in small increments, just like you, Chris. And then this morning he did a run through of his entire presentation with me, and it's like, oh, I didn't I knew what your presentation was gonna be, the concept, but I didn't realize it was I don't know, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. And you started telling me the story, and it's like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I wanted to tell you, I wanted to wait till after the show, right, or after you did the presentation. Let's do something with that, dude. Let's tell that story on YouTube. Let's use those slides, make a video. That story was compelling, condensed, and that was perfect for everybody to be seen. And I think we need more of those stories from you. You guys, I can't express to you the story that he told. It was engaging, and I'm not a slide person. I don't care for slides, but watching the slides, they weren't boring to me. They were perfect, and they gave visual representations of what truly was happening and what he was explaining. And it wasn't just slides; it was pictures. It was literally like watching a video. watching you run through it.
Yeah, that was the whole thing is like, a lot of these guys that are my mentors, like TY Banana Man and that, they're not big slide type educators, right? And interestingly enough, this morning when I was sitting next to Chris, we ran into Dan Houlihan or Howlahan or however you say his last name. And he has been like an inspiration to me for a really long time. That was really cool. I geeked out. Like I've met a lot of cool people, but he's the first guy I'm like, dude, you've inspired me.
Yeah.
That was a cool moment for me.
No, that was good. So I didn't get to see the presentation, but I did see the run through, and the run through was freaking awesome. So
Thank you.
I could only imagine. And okay, so I'm gonna fuel your ego right now because I ran into Ty.
Why is it about me? This is about Chris right now.
And we're gonna talk about Chris, but we're doing an intro here. It's about you because you're off camera because you're antisocial hiding from everybody.
I just wanted to sit down. My legs are
Yeah.
killing me.
Oh, so you didn't even want to go live. It was just supposed to be me and Chris.
Yeah.
No,
A lot of walking.
but okay, so that was my introduction to Chris. We've seen each other on social media. We didn't interact very much before, but when I started talking with Adam, you started talking with Adam, it kind of brought the whole group together.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And then it's more than just Chris Hughes, it's the entire building science community. There's an awesome community.
I'll throw this out to the HVAC Overtime show. When I was watching the Overtime show really early on, and I would comment, and this is kind of funny, but I remember getting really nerdy in there, and then you guys were like making fun of me in the chat. And I'm like, I don't care. That doesn't bother me.
Really?
This is way back. And then you ended up reaching out to me about some stuff when I went to TEC.
Yeah.
And that's how we met. But like, it's funny is y'all bullied me, man, early on in my career.
So that you know where I got that from? Early on, before I met Zach Ciota, I was watching HVAC Shop Talk with Zach and Andrew Greaves, and I was doing the same thing, commented in the chat, and I was talking about using an ERV for a whole house ventilation system and using it for bath fans and that. And Greaves made fun of me. And I'm like, who is this guy? And he was calling it like, I don't even want to say it. I don't know. There's people listening here.
Yeah. Well, so it was about the same time because when you were going over to TEC, I had heard of you, but then it was like the first symposium that we ran into each other, and that's when it was all happening, and that's when we kind of got to become friends. And in this whole building science community, I was talking with someone today. I was having lunch with Dominic from NCI, and we were talking about it. And I've known the general concept of building science. I mean, I have the general basic understanding of what happens, but I didn't know the nuances. And boy, and let me tell you that I thought I had a little bit of an idea until I started talking to you guys, until I started getting educated better. And that's when I realized that we didn't know anything, and it blew my mind. So
I think you have a great understanding for it, but there's definitely more knowledge that's out there and available, but it's hard to find.
yes,
Like I would say us as TEC, our information's all like on our web store,
Yes.
but it's not so like out to the world, like advertised heavily. Like you got to seek it out.
right.
Like we're a small company in the scheme of things like this, right? So like to find that education, it does exist,
Right.
but you got to come hunting for it, and then we'll plug and play and put you on it wherever. But like generally speaking, like most air conditioner guys know that we recirculate air.
Yep.
Right? They understand that. It's crazy to me though, but like air conditioner guys, and I'm guilty of this as one, it's like we're looking for the big problem, the fix, boom, fix the equipment done. But when you start looking at a lot of air moving slowly and what that can do to a building for comfort, that's when building science has to come into play, and you start looking at room pressurization problems and stack effect problems, and you start realizing that, man, I could put a dehumidifier on this job, but it may not fix the problem.
Right.
And then once that hits, you're like, whoa, like, holy crap. That if you get bit by that bug and you're more interested, that's the people who become, in my opinion, the unicorns who take on problematic houses.
Yeah.
And problematic houses pay good money if you can go in there and fix houses that are broken, that are not just equipment driven problems.
So it started with, me deciding that I wanted to replace the air conditioner in my house. And then I decided I want to go ahead and film this. And then that's when Adam goes, I think Adam said, dude, we should like building science this shit or something like that is what you said. And We did. It was fun, and it was an intro. Like my house wasn't anything complicated, but
You
it was
two
an
guys have definitely put a lot of work in. And Adam will sit here and tell you, and he'll be like, "Man, those guys taught me." We didn't really teach anything. Man. What we did is we encouraged.
I would say that there was definitely inspiration for sure.
The inspiration's
I don't
there.
know.
We just pointed to the tools,
Yeah.
and there was questions like, "Well, how does this work?" And then, you chase that
Yeah.
out, man. You know?
Yeah, and it's been a fun process. But Adam, I do have to say,
Yo,
I do
sorry.
have to say
Yeah.
that we have a problem because I left my house, a couple days before the AHR Expo. I left my house in the morning and it was like 34 degrees,
Yeah.
and my system was satisfied. And my wintertime design temperature is 37 degrees.
Yeah. We oversized it.
I think we oversized it. No, it's a funny
Let's talk
joke.
about what tonnage you had in your house before you started.
So on my house project, I had a 100,000 BTU gas-fired furnace with a 4-ton cooling coil, with 2.5 tons of air moving across that cooling coil, with a blower door number of 3,400 CFMs of leakage.
Now let me
Wait, 34 or 20?
I think you're 24.
2,400. 2,400.
let me ask you a question though. Like I know you had noise, but did you have mold? You didn't
No,
have
no,
So,
no.
so this to put something in perspective, because I don't know the job very well, but I've seen pictures in the early on stages. You had return leakage.
Yes.
You also had supply leakage.
Lots.
So,
I have
like,
a lot of supply leaks.
So I think this is a big prominent problem in our industry, why people have gotten so hung up on this tonnage works and I'm used to the square footage per ton. Well, if you're sucking in, let's say, attic hot, humid air, well, you're basically throwing, let's say, a ton of capacity at that air conditioning system, and then it feels like it's the right tonnage for the house because you're throwing a false load.
Yeah.
Right? So you could have return duct leakage, supply duct leakage, and eat up that extra tonnage that it's over tonnage, right? And I think problems like that is what gets us. We overlook those things, and we
If my
overlook
house
over tonnage.
was in a humid climate, then we would have some serious problems in my house. I live in a dry climate. So my biggest driver of changing my air conditioner was I was sick of my $900 electric bills every month. Those were killing me. Okay. Energy prices were dramatically going up at the time. And I've always known that the system in my house was massively oversized, but I didn't know how much. And when I got into it, I still had that gut feeling, guys. I'm looking at Adam too. I still had that inner tingling. When we said a 2-ton,
no
I said
doubt in my
maybe
mind.
we should do a 3-ton. In
Yeah.
my head,
So
right?
aren't you happy now?
I'm
though?
100% happy, and I'm kind of irritated we didn't figure out a smaller thing because I saw it. Okay, and this is something that you guys don't know. Adam, and we haven't really discussed this. We need to go into depth on this on another platform or an overtime show or something. But Adam has been experimenting on his own house and actually irritated his own wife when she found out that he was over here pushing the envelope, undersizing his own system, watching the numbers. Like, this guy's staying up till 2 a.m. on a day that he was
I'm
going
sitting there. I'm
massively below design.
texting all these guys, and I'm like, it's 3 degrees, and we're still heating right
Yeah.
now. And this is Chicago. I have 1850 square foot with a full basement, and I'm running. It's a 3-ton heat pump, but I derated it. I'm using a 2-ton capacity plug. So I have a 2-ton heat pump in Chicago, and it kept up all the way down to 1 degree outside. It was freaking awesome.
So this has been a fun process, and it's kind of become a game. Adam and I both. I started it. Adam was like, "That's really cool. You're finally doing your system." And then Adam jumped on the bandwagon, and then he just blew me out of the water with what he did to his
The
house.
thing I know, a few minutes ago we were talking about people in humid climates, and Chris is in a dry climate.
Yeah.
He was really nervous when he was commissioning his system, and I didn't know this. I'm not a carrier dealer. Chris doesn't install carrier residential equipment, but I guess with the Infinity controller, there's only 3 airflow settings.
And I could be completely ignorant to it, okay? Because full disclosure, I still haven't read the installation and operation manual of the system that I installed on my house, okay? It's got to be intuitive for me to use it. If it's not intuitive, it's stupid.
So, by the way, so he went to go set up the airflow and commission the system and air balance, right? And what he noticed was out of those 3 settings, we couldn't even come close to the correct airflow.
We
Each
were
one of
way
them,
under or way over.
right? So he was asking what I thought we should do, and he ended up balancing to the percentage of
Yes.
design. And I told him, let that thing rip because he's in a dry climate and we don't want to dehumidify. And then also you have high electric bills. So let's bring those bills down and let's drive some sensible BTUs, right?
Now, to be fair, and I am fully confident in it, I still have yet to add fresh air to my house. That is something, but it just makes me even more comfortable knowing that I have the capacity there to add fresh air. But I bet you anything when we finally do add fresh air to my system, that it's still going to be slightly precise. I have a feeling.
Probably.
So.
And dry climate, I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, we'll be good. All right, well, we're going to wrap this up. We're just doing a quick one. I want to continue this conversation. Maybe we can have you on the overtime show. Maybe we could do something.
I think a good plan would be during the symposium.
There we go. That's where it happens.
Yeah.
In the animal house. If we can get it,
the room where it
here's the
happens.
problem. I anticipated it being just as loud as it is here.
Well, another thing that we could do too is we're trying to book up spots in Brian's podcast area,
Oh, yeah.
so we could do it during the day as well too.
So we need to continue these conversations. Again, Chris Hughes with the Energy Conservatory, good friend of ours.
Hold on before you sign off.
No, I'm not going to.
Is there a bell on the sound effects on this
Dude,
thing?
trust me, you don't want to play with things.
Why?
I don't even know. It's going to go to the audience.
Isn't it labeled what it is?
No.
How can we go live without a bell?
It's like,
This is great.
the signature dude.
This is ridiculous, though. I have a problem with dead air. I can't do it. So.
All right, sorry.
All right, but again, Chris Hughes from the Energy Conservatory and the HVAC Grapevine on YouTube. Okay, we need to address that too. The HVAC Grapevine is a YouTube live show that the guys do. Let's see, Eric Kaiser, Chris Hughes, and
Michael Cianfrocco.
Cianfrocco. I kept saying Michael Cianfranco, but
That's what I said too.
Cianfrocco. He's not the actor.
So the mission behind that show is what we wanted to do is make it kind of like a news show. You know, like you have the news, you have like CNN and all the other channels like that. Everybody's got their own spin, their own flavor on the shows. I thought it's really cool. What I thought would be fun was just having like a news, like relevant news, what's coming out. And the guys that, you know, I knew Eric and I knew Michael. I didn't know him very, very well, but like I could have reached out for co-hosts and like people I knew well, but I specifically chose those guys to bring those interesting dynamics to the show. So I'm really happy that they jumped on board and did it with me. I think it's been a lot of fun. I think we've poured some awesome content to the world for education.
Yeah, and it's great. So definitely go check out the HVAC Grapevine,
Plug this real quick.
the Rimulator from the Energy Conservatory.
All right, man. So
Is this where you like stand 6 feet away from the house and squint and then try to fit the house into the box and then it tells you the load calculation size?
I'll have to tell a quick story for this.
Go
one.
for it.
So when I went to the Energy Conservatory, right when I started, I went roller skating with my kids, and I was kind of overweight and out of shape, and I fell and broke my leg. And I was like 2 weeks at the Energy Conservatory, and I thought, oh my gosh, like this is not how you start a new career.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And I'm just brainstorming, like, how can I be successful over here and like not look like I just bombed this coming in? So I have pictures of this. I don't know. I mean, you know, my wife's like joking, taking for like, what are you going to do? So anyway, I'm sitting there with like a cast on my leg and a roll around computer chair with a hot wire anemometer. And I'm going around them. And Steve Rogers, the owner, was like talking to me about flow. And I was really understanding how flow gets measured through calibrated devices and all that. And I just, in my area, everything's central main return, everything, right?
Yeah.
Room pressurization is a huge problem, but I never stood it on the level that I needed to learn it till Steve really poured it into me. And I was like, man, that probably exists everywhere. So I thought, well, let's make a device that could measure how bad the room pressure problem is and then give an answer on what size duct that needs to be as passive return. So I came up with this idea and it's set for 2 years. This is the Rimulator. Basically, it's a credit card. It sits in your wallet and you measure the door opening and while you watch your micromanometer. You have to use a micromanometer because you have to be accurate in pascals of measurement, right? So you open the door while you read the door gap with the card. Then you flip the card over and there's a different strategies like, hey, if I'm going to do a jumper duct, this is what size it needs to be. So I try to make it simple for sizing it. But what's funny is it's kind of like we thought it was kind of ganky. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nobody's going to want that. And I think the bosses were kind of like, I don't know. Now's not the right time. But then, NCI, we have a relationship going with them, and they were looking for something specific to this. And they were asking us if we could work on it with them. And I was like, oh, wait. I have this right now. It's been sitting for 2 years. And David's like, let me see it. And I showed it to him. He goes, what are you doing? He's like, that needs to go to the world, like ASAP.
Yeah.
And so David kind of helped convince my bosses that, like, oh, we should do this. And so, boom, off to the races we went. So, David.
How do people get them?
So we sell them on the website. They're 3 for $5.
So energyconservatory.com.
Yep. Energyconservatory.com. If you look under airflow measurement devices, it's buried in that portal.
Okay.
But if you catch us at a show, we're basically going to be handing them out. This is kind of like something that this is like the duckulator exists, right?
Yeah.
People give away duckulators, at shows. This is the Rimulator. And this is kind of going to be like our calling card to our booth from here on out for quite a long time.
So
that's.
I do have to say too that, okay, so he just told this story, and I'm going to flash forward to my 40th birthday back in June of the previous year when I turned 40. And I told everybody I'm doing the coolest thing ever. I rented a roller skating rink. I invited my entire family over, right?
So
we dressed
dumb.
in 80s clothes. I had like a Mario Kart shirt on and all this stuff. And then I get a call from Chris. He's like, hey, don't do this, dude.
Do it, man.
And I'm like, bro, it's my 40th birthday. He's like, don't do it. I did it. I didn't break my leg.
Yeah, the funny thing is I can actually rollerblade really well. Like growing up as a kid, I was a rollerblader, dude. Like
I was a
hardcore.
blader, but
And
there were bladers for
I
life.
went old school because I was with my kids and I was like, they were rollerblading because that's what all the kids do. And I was like, I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna go old school. So I put on the old school skates.
Yeah.
And I was getting down
Isn't
and my
it
kid
the worst when skates lock together when the
That's
wheels? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was roller skating in the old school skates. Get this. I was like, I'm gonna go backwards. Like,
Yep.
I'm gonna do my thing,
Yep.
show my kid how cool I am. And as I was like transitioning my skates going into the turn, the top right wheel of the left skate got wedged between like the skate on the right, and I pretzeled and went to the ground. And when I fell, dude, I don't know if you could I heard the bone crack while I was staring at it going down.
Yeah.
My 13-year-old standing right there, seen the whole thing and heard everything, and there was quite a few 4-letter words that flew. And now he won't skate at all.
Funny.
He's petrified to go skate.
It's good. What?
Give me that sign.
What do
Yeah,
you need
don't
to sign
forget,
for?
before I forget, I'll be in trouble if I don't bring up the point that we have the Zoom Lock Max tool. You guys want to enter to win this. Pay attention to my social media. I'll throw out a link for this. That way you guys can enter if you want.
Nice.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up.
Wait, hold on a
We
second,
got one more
Chris.
thing? Everybody's
Just
got
so
one
you
more
don't have
thing?
to keep bothering me, you take this with you so you can size the jumper ducks for your
there we
house.
go. That's what I need to do. I still need to size the jumper ducks and add fresh air. So we'll do it. We'll
Cool.
talk about it more. I'll show what I'm doing with this and show how I'm using it wrong. And Chris will criticize me and we'll make good content about it, right?
Yeah,
All right.
buddy.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so very much. We're going to wrap it up. Again, thanks so much. We're at the 2024 HR Expo at the Parker Sporlan booth.
See you.